Once upon a time, it was my sophomore year of high school. Hunter and I were paired up together to be partners when we were auditioning for the Mystery of Edwin Drood. And that's pretty much all I remember. There wasn't anything particular about that. All I really remember was that he was tall.
Richae and I actually met in high school. I was a junior. I don't remember the day that we actually met. I don't recall like, oh, that's when I met Richae. I just remember at one point, I just recognized that she was there and that we were more or less friends. All throughout high school, I thought she was pretty cool. I remember thinking she was pretty and funny and smart. But we were never like romantically interested in each other or anything like that. She was dating my buddy for a good part of the time that I knew her, so, no go there.
Fast forward a little bit, we were in productions company together, and that was really fun. We were really good friends for a long time.
We were involved in a play called The Foreigner together, where, the cast was pretty small, so we all worked pretty closely, and that's when I think we became really good friends with each other.
I remember we went on a couple of dates before my mission, but it was just like friends and whatever. And then
before my mission, we went on maybe 2 dates before I left on my mission, and it was just a couple of friends going out. That was it. We wrote even on my mission, but it was just one missionary kind of writing to another, just checking up on my old friend,
Whatever. And then I came back from my mission. We didn't really write on my mission. We wrote a little bit, but it wasn't like anything. And I came home with the idea that I was gonna like date this other guy and like marry this other guy. And so that's kind of where my mind was. But anyway, he came to my homecoming, and it was just really cool just to have like that support from him.
So I came home in 2015, September of 2015, and then she didn't come home until June of 2016. So I remember going to her homecoming and seeing her, and it was kind of a shock. I had kind of forgotten how pretty she was, but I still wasn't interested. I'd been involved with this one girl just before my mission, and I was still like holding out for her. So I didn't really think of Richae that way at all still.
And we went on this date, and we went to a movie. I don't remember what movie it was, but he said, hey, you should work at Vivint. And I worked at Vivint before my mission, so I was like, well, that's perfect, because I can just get my job back. That'll be easy. And he's like, you should be on the moves team, because that's where I work. I was like, it'll be nice to have a friend, And so I got my job back, and I started working on the moves team, and Hunter was actually the one that trained me. And he asked me out on a couple of other dates, and I kind of blew him off a lot, which is so mean, but I was not really interested that way,
I started asking her out to go do stuff and come, we'll go see a movie, we'll go do this, we'll go do that. And she was not interested, apparently. I remember one week I asked her out like 4 times, and every time she was like, yeah, I'll call and let you know, or I'll text you and I'll let you know. Which should have been a clue to me that she was like not interested, because girls only say that when they're not going to call or text you. And it held true. She did not. I would get my hair combed, I'd put on some nice clothes, I'd be ready to go, and then I'd just kind of wait for her, which was pretty sad, but I did. And she blew me off like 4 nights in a row. So that was really sad. I remember being super bummed out about that. I remember she had to go get a gift for a friend who was getting married. So we went to Bed Bath & Beyond, because that's where all wedding gifts are. And I remember we got bamboo, because these people had like nothing on their registry. And so they're like, just a bunch of different bamboo things. So we went and got like 3 or 4 of those and wrapped them up. And then we went and got Panda Express, because that's delicious. And then we went and watched Frozen in Spanish, because we're weirdos like that and we both speak Spanish. So I remember that was a lot of fun. And after that, we started being more regular friends. I don't know why I was so invested in her before, or at that point, because I still wasn't like romantically interested in her, as far as I was aware, you know? I was still like holding out for this other girl. But I remember I did want to be friends with her for some reason. The first time that I consciously made the connection that I was like interested in Richae Meller, that I had a crush on her, was actually that summer, end of July. My brother got married, my older brother Hayden. We went down to Texas for it, and I remember just before then I went on a date with this other girl, just a friend of mine. And I remember on the date, we were there, we had a picnic, and I remember sitting there and I recognized that in the back of my head I was kind of comparing this girl to Richae, and that Richae was winning. So that was when I was like, oh no, I might have some feels. Stop that. But I went down to Texas. It was a very long drive. 2 days there, 2 days back. But it was a good trip. And then when we got back, we also had a second reception up here, because her family lives down in Texas. That's where they got married, but we also wanted to do a reception up here. For the people who lived up here, we didn't expect everybody to fly down to Texas that's far. I actually invited her to the reception, just kind of spur of the moment, and I expected her not to come. I had already figured that she wasn't gonna show up. She generally didn't anyway, so why would she, right? So like I said, I didn't think she was gonna come. But she actually did. She showed up. And ironically, she was dressed in the appropriate colors for the wedding. And she claims to this day that she didn't know, but I'm pretty sure she like drove by with some binoculars earlier, so I'm like, hey, that's what I gotta wear. Drove home and then came back, but she denies it. Anyways, so we go through the line because I wanted her to meet Maddie, and she already knew Hayden more or less. So we went through the line. It turns out she actually knew a lot of people that I knew, like my next door neighbor who who we grew up with, was her MTC teacher. She knew other people in my ward, or in my stake, sorry. So it was actually just really interesting, you know? And then as time went on, she told me she had to leave because she had a date with this other guy that she was still dating. So she left. And I thought, I kind of like her, but there's no way she likes me. She's just coming because now we're becoming good friends. Well, my brother Hayden and Maddie, who the newlyweds, they assured me that Richae was very interested in me. That she had an enormous crush on me. That it was so obvious. And if Hayden had just said it, I love my older brother, but I would have said, you don't know what you're talking about. But Maddie was like, no, Hunter, it's a girl thing. I can tell. Richae really likes you. Apparently, I found out later, she wasn't interested at all. She was just coming because she was a friend. But, whatever.
He like, one time I remember we were watching Into the Woods at my house. And we were sitting next to each other, and he was like obviously like holding his hand like right here, trying to hold my hand, and I was like, no, like we're friends, like you're Hunter Knudsen, like from high school, like we're friends, like there's nothing's gonna happen, And he like was so persistent, and he thinks he was so like not obvious, and it was anyway. I knew.
They really pushed me to pursue her. They're like, hey man, you should ask her out. And I was like, I don't think she really likes me that much. Like, I don't want to annoy her. She's got a boyfriend. Like, why would she? But they kept pushing me to go watch a movie with her, to go hang out with her, to spend time with her. And so I kept doing it. And I secretly thought that I was making progress. Apparently I was not. Apparently I was banging my head against a brick wall. But I thought I was, I remember we watched Into the Woods one evening, and I was like leaving my hand out there, you know, just on the sly, just if she wanted to hold my hand, and she didn't take the opportunity, so I was like totally bummed out. But then the next day, we actually came over to my house to watch Star Wars The Force Awakens, because she hadn't seen it since she'd been home. And then she was like cuddled up against me, so I was getting a lot of mixed signals. And then the next time we met, there was nothing, you know, so I was just, it was a lot of back and forth, and I was very confused.
My best friend Shannon emailed me on her mission, and she said, well, I was kind of dating this other guy at the time, and it wasn't going the way I wanted it to go. He didn't want to be steady, and I knew he didn't really, I guess he didn't really want to be with me, and so I was kind of just frustrated. And so she emailed me and she said, Richae, I don't know why I feel like I need to tell you this, but you need to be with someone who adores you and who loves you and who would give anything to make you happy. And at the time I was like, yeah, I've got that, you know, like, no problem. But that kind of stuck in the back of my mind. Anyway, so I kind of got the idea, like, hey, he has feelings for me and I don't feel that way, so now I don't know what to do. I feel a little awkward. And so there was one week where he like asked me out on like 4 different dates, and I kind of blew him off 4 times. He still doesn't let it go.
Anyway, eventually, after she blew me off like 4 times in 1 week, we ran into each other at work, because she had started working at Vivint and she was still training in that time. So she shows up, we bump into each other one day, and I was just like, hey, so how's it going? And I figured, you know, I'm not gonna ask her to go do stuff with me anymore, because she's just not interested. I got the hint after 4 times. And she was like, hey, I'm really sorry that I don't remember how she said it, but I heard stamped your face in and destroyed your little heart. You know, 4 times in 1 week. But we should go do something, and so we did on like a Tuesday, and we actually had a really great time. It was a simple thing,
and it's a Wednesday, and this is after I had blown Hunter off like 4 times, and I'm like, hey, I need to go on this date because I'm like a horrible friend and I need to do this for him. And anyway, so we go ice skating, and I was sick. I was like drippy, and it was nasty McNasty. Anyway, so I kind of held his hand, and I didn't know what to do. What do you do? You're ice skating. You hold the guy's hand. So I would like fling him, so it was like casual, you know. It wasn't like we were holding hands, but we were holding hands. So I'd like fling him and make it not so serious.
But I remember when I finally did start making progress, it was actually the first week of the school year. I just moved in to an apartment in Provo, and I asked her to go ice skating with me. And it was a Tuesday. We went up to the ice skating rink, and they were like, sorry, no ice skating today. So I kind of forget what we did that night. We just kind of drove around. I remember we stopped at a cemetery. That was interesting. But then the next night, we went back, because I was like, hey, I really want to take you ice skating. And there was some hand holding, and I don't know to this day how much of it was genuine and how much of it was just her thinking I was a weirdo. So, you know, probably a lot more genuine, not that much of a weirdo.
Anyway, so afterwards he took me to Texas Roadhouse, and anyone who knows me well knows that I love beef. So obviously we know that this is going well. And I just remember we were on this date and we were laughing so hard. I mean, I was sick and kind of miserable, but I was having the time of my life. And the thought that came into my head was, wow, me and Hunter are actually like better suited than I thought. That was the thought that kind of just changed everything, because I had now that email in my head from Shannon and this date that just went really well.
But then I took her to Texas Roadhouse because I just have that kind of money. And we drove down there, it wasn't far. And we had Texas Roadhouse, which is delicious. And I learned later that that was actually the first time I'd made any sort of progress. So, go me. Good place to start. I remember after that though, she actually asked me out to go to the temple with her.
And so I invited him to go with me to the temple that next Friday, just a couple days after. And by the time he had gotten off work, it was too late. So by the time we got to the temple, it was closed and we couldn't do a session.
I was late getting out of work, so we didn't make it. But we started walking around the grounds, and she grabbed my hand.
So we start walking around the temple, and I let him, I held his hand, and we went back to the back side of the temple, and he kissed me. And it was like the most incredible thing ever, because anything, I don't know, it's kind of crazy how you can know so much from the first kiss, but I was like, wow, like, he really means it, you know. And it was interesting because I just felt like this like click, and it was so weird. I don't know how to explain it other than like, it was almost like a spiritual experience, but I was like, okay, like, this is good.
I was so nervous. I was nervous because I didn't want to ruin this, you know. I didn't know if I'd really made any progress with her or not, and I didn't want to do something that was gonna make her go, oh, okay, I'm not interested, please don't talk to me anymore, and run away. It would have been awkward because we were in my car, so I don't know where she would have gone, but you know, I was afraid she would run away either way. So we're walking around, we go to the back of the temple, and I just got the feeling, you know, that it was now or never, that I needed to like make a move. And so I just leaned in and kissed her. And it was great. It was great because I felt a connection, you know? We weren't just two people kissing, I felt like we were really connected in that moment.
And we walked and we sat down on a bench next to the temple, and he like bore his heart to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I need to be with this guy. Like, oh my gosh, just the things that he said to me. I remember, we talked for a while, but there was one thing that he said that really stood out to me, is when he said, Richae, I've never felt this way about someone before. And he said, I'm serious about you. And then he pointed to the temple and said, I'm that serious about you. And I didn't freak out. Like, any girl, this is like he had just kissed me and now he's talking about marriage. And any like normal girl would be like, hold up, like, dude, you are going way too fast. But I didn't freak out. And I kind of freaked out because I didn't freak out. Like, why am I not freaking out right now? Like, but I actually started crying, and he was like, oh crap, like, what did I say? And I was like, no, like, this is good crying. Like, I've never had someone come to me like this. I've kind of realized that, like, I don't know, any relationship I've had in my life, I've always initiated, which is bad. But I've never had someone who wanted to be with me. So that's the day that kind of changed everything. And so we went to Olive Garden that night, and I told him, I was like, I don't really want to be like steady yet. So we're just gonna date other people for a while because I don't know what I want. And I don't know, I didn't really do much about it.
She kind of broke down crying pretty soon thereafter, which I was pretty sure was a bad sign. I was like, I have done something horrible. But she just, you know, she kind of opened up to me and told me that, you know, she's been looking for a good relationship, wanted to make her happy, and that I might be that guy. But she was also very adamant about, hey, I don't want to like this to get too serious too quick or anything. We need to date other people. And then, as far as I understand, then after a day or so, she went and dumped her boyfriend. Which she says, no, I just talked to him and told him that we should see other people. To a guy, that is a breakup. So she went and dumped him. So I felt pretty good about my chances. About a week and a half later, we saw each other every day. I don't know when she was seeing these other guys she was talking about, because I literally wouldn't give her a chance. I was with her all the time. And then on September 5th, which was Labor Day, we decided to go to the Hogle Zoo together, because it'd been a long time since either of us had been to the zoo.
A week later, we went to the zoo, and I remember Hunter had something on his mind, and I could tell, and he was like, was going to say something. I was like, okay, tell me. And he's like, no. And I'm like, tell me. And he said, okay, so what are you? You're like my girlfriend. Like, I don't even know what to call you. And I was like, yeah, I'm your girlfriend. So we became official like a week later.
So we were driving up there, and I admit I had been thinking about whether or not, like, when do you put a label on it? But I wasn't gonna say anything, because I was like, well, it really had only been a week and a half, and I was sure that was like a little too quick. So I just decided, I'm not gonna say anything. But Richae obviously noticed, and so she said, well, what's going on? And I said, no, nothing really. And then she actually brought up, hey, are we a couple? Like, what are we gonna, like, are we an item? And I said, okay, that is actually what I wanted to talk about. And so that day we actually decided to put the stamp of boyfriend and girlfriend on our relationship.
It's just been incredible. I don't know, like that, I just like, there's so much chemistry between us, it's kind of crazy. I've never had someone where I feel like I'd be 100% myself with. I've always kind of felt like I've had to hide part of who I am with somebody, just because I feel like either they'll judge me, or they'll think I'm weird or annoying or loud, or I don't know. I've always kind of felt like I've had to mold myself to be accepted by people. But with Hunter, it's not like that. I know that he loves me for who I am. And what I love is that he can be that way with me, and we know that we're both awkwardly weird people together, and it's great. And I feel like I can be real with him, and that he cares about me. He treats me like I've always wanted to be treated. So fast forward a little bit, it's September 17th, I think. And we went to my cousin's baptism way out in Duchesne, and then on the drive back, I told him, I was like, I am pretty much in love with you. And he said, so we should probably talk about that whole marriage thing. I was like, yeah. I was kind of like, yes, but oh my gosh, like, we're talking about marriage. And so we like parked the car and talked about it, and both of us were just kind of like, oh my gosh, like, I'm talking about marriage with, like, I'm like talking about marriage with Hunter Knutson, like, Hunter Knutson. Like, oh my gosh. And so we were just like kind of like having this freak out. A
little while after that, we started talking about getting married. Just before that, I remember the first time I told her I loved her. It was also something that I'd been thinking about for a while. I do that a lot. But I'd been thinking about this one because I wanted to make sure that when I told Richae I loved her, that it wasn't just a romantic thing. That I wasn't just saying it because I knew she'd swoon and sigh. I wanted to say I loved you because I was sure that I loved her, And so I hadn't been saying it. I'd been wanting to say it because it is a romantic thing to say. Girls love it, but they also get really mad if you're not telling the truth. So, I was making sure that I was gonna say it at the right time. One day we went to the temple and we were in the celestial room, and I was just like, I can't hold it in. I can't stop the feeling. And so I told her I loved her, and she said it back. So, yeah.
We said we wanted to pray about it. We wanted to know, but we knew we were starting to talk about it. We were considering that. So I'm over here like, okay, Heavenly Father, like, what am I supposed to do? This is the most important decision of my life. All my life, I've always kind of gotten big answers from God. God's always been like, you're gonna go on a mission. You are going to go to BYU. Also, you're gonna be an archaeologist, so go do that. And my life has just kind of been handed to me. Like, God's just kind of pulled me by the hand throughout my life. And it's been nice, to know like my purpose in life. But all of a sudden I'm making the most important decision of my life and there's like nothing. And I'm like, I'm kind of stressed out about it. I prayed and prayed and prayed, wanting to know what I should do. And I would get peaceful feelings, but I didn't get anything specific for a long time, and I was kind of frustrated. And we would go to the temple regularly as a couple, which was really important. I remember the first time we went, I felt like really happy during the ordinances, and I was like, hey, this is good. And then the second time, I don't know how many times we went to the temple. There was another time, and we were chosen to be the witness couple, and I was like, well, that's pretty cool. And we were like, hey, like, we're not married, is that okay? They're like, yeah, you're fine. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, maybe it's a sign. But I didn't try to like read into it too much. It was a really cool experience. And then I remember there was another time where we sat in the celestial room, and I could tell he wanted to say something. And I knew what it was, and he's been trying to say it for a while. And he turns to me and he says, I love you. And I'm like, you've been trying to say that for a while. Like, I've seen it on your face a couple of times. He's like, yeah. Like, I just didn't know when to say it. And I told him I loved him back. And that was actually the first time I've ever said that to somebody. And that was really cool. Then there was another time where we went to the temple. And I knew he wanted to marry me. I think he already had it in his head, like he just knew, and I'm over here like, I don't know. I was like on the fence about it, and I think he was getting kind of antsy, and I kind of like felt bad. I'm like, hey, I need to make a decision. Like, I can't like just like leave him there. So we're in the temple, and I was praying. And I was praying for a long time, like, and I think he was kind of concerned, like, is she okay? Like, and so I'm praying, and I was like, hey, Heavenly Father, like, I need to know. I need to know. And I just kept getting these feelings of, like, peace. And for me, I'm like, hey, but I need to know, I opened my eyes, and I don't know what came over me. Now I know it was the Spirit, but at the time I was like, oh, I don't know what this is. And I turned to him, and I said, I think we need to be married. And then when I said that, I was like, what did I just say? Ah! Like, oh my gosh, like that was just like kind of really scary. And he said, you have no idea how long I've been waiting for you to say that. And I just started crying, because right when I said that, the Spirit just overcame me. And I couldn't breathe, and I just felt this confirmation, like, this is right. And that was the answer I've been waiting for. I finally got the answer after I made the decision, but I think it was supposed to happen that way because Heavenly Father wanted me to use my agency. He's kind of led me by the hand my entire life, and now he's like, you know what? You would be happy with Hunter. You would also be happy with like a handful of other people. So you can make the decision. You're going to be happy with whoever you're with as long as you have the gospel. So once I made the decision, God was like, boom, stamp of approval, good job. And I just felt so happy. And I just remember I could not stop smiling. And I went down, and we sat together for a while, and then we went down, I went into the changing room, and I remember just like sitting there, and I was like, I found him! Like, I found my husband, wow! Like, that's a relief, like, that's great! Like, I just felt so happy. I was like, I can't believe it. And so we went and we started ring shopping, and
shortly thereafter we started talking about marriage and finding a ring. Boy, was that a long process. That was nerve-wracking. I don't know anything about rings or diamonds at all. So we actually went together. I know some people think that's not kosher, but I'm super glad she came, because otherwise I would have had no idea what to pick.
I remember he told me, that the ring wasn't going to be ready until like this one Saturday. And I was like, okay, well that's fine. And so I kind of like waited, you know, and it had been a couple of weeks since we like decided to get married. And so the day that he proposed, I legit had no idea. I am kind of surprised that I had no idea because it was so obvious. But
And then I remember the day I proposed to her. It was Friday, October 21st. And I had a whole day planned out. I wanted it to be like a great day. I remember in the morning we went hiking because I knew that that was something she liked to do. She loves being in the outdoors. So we actually went with my family. We hiked Stewart Falls, which is not too strenuous a hike, so we had a good time walking up with all my siblings.
That morning, so it was Friday. And in my head, I had the idea, okay, like he said it wasn't gonna be ready till Saturday, so like he's not proposing today. Like that one little lie like led me on for the entire day. But so that morning we went on a hike with his family and that was really fun. And then we went and we did ceilings together.
I remember we came back down and then we went to the temple. We went to the temple because that's where Richae loves to be. She is a temple worker. She loves the Lord, and that's one of the things I love most about her, that she is dedicated to the gospel. It's not just something she does in her spare time or anything. She puts aside pretty much every Saturday from 10 to 4, which is like some of the optimum utility hours of a Saturday, and goes and serves the Lord with them instead. And I think that's amazing, you know? So we went and did ceilings there. And then afterwards, we drove up to Salt Lake City. I was so nervous.
And I knew we were gonna get married, so it was just this really cool experience knowing that we were going to be doing that together, but it would be our own ceiling later. And then his parents had gotten us reservations up at the Roof restaurant in Salt Lake. And on the drive up, Hunter had this like little thing of like mints that he was just chowing down, and he never does this. And so I was like, are you okay? Like, you never do this. And he's like, I'm just nervous. I'm like, why? He's like, because I'm just nervous we're not gonna make it to our reservations. I'm like, okay, like chill out, like we're fine. And anyway, it was just so funny because he even referred, he's like, yeah, just think of how nervous I'll be when I'm actually proposing. I'm like, yeah, psh. Like he was totally proposing that day. I had no idea.
I had these little icebreakers. The watermelon, kiwi, orange kind. I think they're kiwi. Anyways, it's like a mix. I'm just mowing these down. I am going through them. Because I was so nervous, you know, and I just like, I didn't know what to do with my hands or with my mouth, and I didn't want to talk too much because I was afraid I was gonna like let it out, which probably wouldn't have been a problem because she was like super oblivious. Like her mom told her, oh, you're getting engaged tonight. Even her little brother was like, hey, so Hunter's gonna propose tonight then? And she was like, nah. She just totally believed like the one lie I told her. And like all the other transparent lies, she was just like, oh, they must all also be true. I tried to like make it a surprise, but I had also kind of resigned myself to the idea that it wouldn't be, because, you know, time was kind of limited for us with how we wanted to get married and when. You know, so I just figured, and she'd been, you know, she'd helped me pick out the ring, so I didn't think it was gonna be like a surprise to her, but I totally got her. So we went to the Roof, good food, really great, and then we went down to Temple Square.
So we go to the Roof restaurant, and it was really nice. And I had a companion on my mission who was a Temple Square sister. They go out for like 3 months into like the field outside of Temple Square, and then they go back. So she was back to Temple Square, and I was like, hey, I want to go see my companion. And he was like, perfect. Like, now it seems like it's her idea to go down there. So we go down and we go into like one of the visitor center things, and he goes into the bathroom and he's there for like 10 minutes. I was kind of concerned, but I was also distracted because I was writing a note to my companion. She wasn't there, so I wrote her a note to leave with another sister. So I was distracted during this time, but he was in there for a long time.
I went to the bathroom and I'm just sweating, like shaking. I'm going, holy crap, this is, I don't know, I'd never been engaged before, you know. So I was really nervous. I didn't know how to do this. Nobody had given me an instruction manual. Like, I was just super nervous. And so I pulled myself together, and just before I leave, so my parents are also up on Temple Square. I forgot to mention this, but they want to video the whole thing. So I have to let them know like where we're gonna be so that they can videotape it. So I let them know we were going to the reflecting pool, and I'm trying to give them time to get there, you know? So I'm walking slowly, and I feel like she's catching on at this point. She's like, well, come on, hurry.
Anyway, so he comes out and we start walking toward the reflecting pool of the temple, and he's walking really slow. I'm like, hey, like, let's go. And he's like, I'm just really full. And I'm like, you were fine like 10 minutes ago. Like, why are you all of a sudden walking so slow? And then he also all of a sudden starts like checking his phone, you know, and he's like looking around. And this is the part where I'm kind of realizing that something's going on, but I didn't think it was the proposal, because I'm like, hey, the ring's not ready till Saturday. Okay, so anyway, we go up to the reflecting pool, and he starts like asking me questions about like the symbolism of the stuff that's on the temple, and I like start rambling on, and then I'm like, hey, moving on, like, you know, I start walking away, and he like pulls my hand back, and I'm like, hey, like, what the heck is going on, you know? And he's like checking his phone, and I'm like, what are you doing?
And we walk over, we're standing on, you know, the opposite side of the reflecting pool facing the temple. And I am asking her all these questions I already know the answer to about the symbolism and all of these carvings, beautiful carvings on the side of the temple. And she's like, oh yeah, that means that and that means that. Oh, okay. Oh, that's really fascinating. And then she starts to walk away, and I grab her, play back, and I'm like, well, what about this? And I keep checking my phone to get like the A-OK from my videoing parents. So, and she's thinking I'm a weirdo because I keep like pulling her back. I had to do it like 3 times. And finally I get the like action, you know? So I'm carrying my coat. I'm wearing like a suit, but I'm also carrying my coat. And in the pocket of the coat is the box with the ring in it. So I'm trying to get the box out, and it won't come out.
And then he reaches for the box in his pocket, and it's not coming out. He's like, dang it, I'm totally screwing this up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's totally proposing, and I had no idea. And
I don't know why. Like, it's this coat. I have a big pocket. There shouldn't be a problem, but there is. I just can't get my hand out. I'm like an idiot monkey who can't pull the box out. Anyways, so I'm struggling with it. It's sad. And I just look at her and I go, I'm blowing this. And she puts her hands to her mouth like all girls do when they get proposed to. And so I finally get it out. No longer an idiot monkey. And I get down on one knee and I ask her to marry me, and I will always remember when she said yes.
So that's when I like realized that he was proposing, and he finally gets the box out, and he proposes, and it was just so happy. And I remember I thought I would like bawl, you know, and not even be able to like see out of my eyes. But I was actually more just like happy that we were like getting married, and I was happy that I was gonna be with him. And so I was more like the laughy giggly kind of happy. But I just remember it was so special, and his parents came out and they had been taking pictures the entire time, and that's why he was checking his phone, and all of a sudden all these things start clicking. I'm like, that's why you were nervous, you know. And I'm just really happy that we've found each other. Hunter's everything to to me. And I'm so excited for our lives together.
When Richae and I started dating, I didn't want to freak her out, but I did tell her that if I was going to be in a relationship, I did want it to be serious. And I did want it eventually to go to the temple, and I'm so glad that it has. I love Richae. I love everything about her. She is so amazing and kind and sweet and beautiful. She is funny, and I can be me when I'm around her. I don't have to tone it down or turn it up or anything. She likes me just the way I am.
I'm grateful that Heavenly Father led me to Him, because I really believe that there was divine intervention. You know, I thought my life was going to go one way, and it wasn't right. And God led me on this other path. There's this quote by Elder Holland that I feel like totally fits my life. He says, "You can have what you want, or you can have something better." And that's where my life is going. And I'm just grateful that me and Hunter have been able to involve Heavenly Father in our relationship, because I don't think it would have happened otherwise. I'm grateful that we both went on missions, because I feel like the people that we've become from our missions helped us to come together, because I don't think if either of us didn't go on a mission, or if only one of us did, it wouldn't have worked out.
She's everything to me. She's perfect.
I love him so much, and I'm so excited.